Should you be doing cardio before or after weight training for fat loss? Look, this is a really common misconception, and when I walk to the gym, I see people always starting on treadmills or just spending their priority of time doing, the treadmill, which is fine if that's something that you actually want to improve at. You want to improve your cardio, or, there's a certain goal associated with that sort of training. But it seems to be that a lot of these people, usually people who are trying to lose weight, so they're trying to actually just do the cardio to burn the calories, when it's mainly down to your nutrition, not your training. Essentially, if your goal is fat loss, you want your nutrition to be switched on. You want to be in a consistent calorie deficit. You want to be having a high protein intake to retain your muscle, a plan that manages cravings, and ultimately consistency. Cardio is optional during this as well. You don't have to be doing cardio, because if you're doing the right things with your nutrition, you're going to lose weight. Simple as that. But whether you are losing fat or not is completely dependent, obviously, on having this high protein food and also doing your weight training and prioritizing your weight training. The reason why is, say you do cardio first, right? You're tiring yourself out before you do your weight session, which means that when you do your weights, you're leaving some gains on the table and you're not giving it your absolute best because you spend that energy on the treadmill or the rower or doing cardio. That means that your performance and your muscle growth rate is going to be impacted. Doesn't mean you're not going to grow any muscle at all. Yes, you still will, but results will be a bit slower. And you're not really going to get that toned look that everyone's sort of after when you're losing fat. You're going to get more, it's not going to be as good as you want it to be. But if you do prioritize weight training, that's where you're making the most out of your weight training. It's where you're going to be putting on or retaining as much muscle as possible, considering all things with your nutrition as well, with high protein and good quality food. Then you'll get this nice toned look that everyone is after when you're cutting down your weight. And you'll be losing mainly fat instead of muscle. What was to happen if you prioritize cardio? Essentially, if you prioritize cardio training, if it's your main thing, whether you do weights or not, if cardio is your priority for training, especially while you're doing all the right stuff with your nutrition to lose weight, you're just going to lose an even amount of muscle and fat. Essentially, you're not really going to lose too much of a body fat percentage. You're just going to look like a smaller, still skinny fat version of yourself. A lot of people chasing fat loss or weight loss are actually chasing realistically body recomp, and it's not just the actual weight loss itself. Because there's one thing with losing weight, it doesn't mean that you're putting on muscle or replacing fat with muscle. But then there's also another thing, losing fat, which is where you're replacing it with muscle. And ultimately, if you're focusing on trying to lose as much fat as you can, instead of just general weight, you're going to look better when you're cutting down that weight. When does cardio make sense in a fat loss phase? If your goal is to, train your cardio, maybe it's something sport specific, maybe you're trying to get in shape for a sport, maybe you just really want to increase your cardiovascular, maybe you're doing running, something like that, right? If it makes sense with what your actual training goal is, then that should be your priority for your training session. It's like anything. If it's your priority, you should be doing that as your priority. You should be training that as your priority. But a high percentage of my clients and a lot of people that I talk to who are wanting to lose fat, they usually want this recomp and they usually want to get this toned look. And they want to build that lean muscle while cutting off that fat. So now that answers the whole training question, but now it's up to the nutrition side of things, which is where a lot of people struggle. During fat loss phase, a lot of people get bad cravings because they go for a really extreme fad diets, or they try and burn themselves out doing cardio at the gym all the time, or they're just trying to do an unreasonable amount of training that they've never been consistent with. So if you're someone who is struggling, you don't really have a plan for your nutrition, and you need a proper point in the right direction, let us help you out. I'm happy to point you in the right direction, give you the advice on your next steps and where you need to go, and furthermore. If this is you and you want to point in the right direction, just go to my Instagram at leonardquint.coaching and just message me the word protein so I know you came from this